Welcome back to the Lights Out podcast, bedtime stories for boys and girls, for when the lights go out. Good evening, boys and girls. Are you ready for bed? Are you all snuggled up and tucked up, wrapped up nice and warm, ready for another Lights Out bedtime story? Well, you're in for a treat tonight, because tonight's story is called I Ain't Gonna Paint No More by Karen Beaumont and illustrated by David Catrow. A big shout out goes to all the illustrators who are supporting the show and its mission for 1,000 ad-free stories forever for boys and girls around the world, and all the listeners for hitting like and follow, subscribe and join, thumbs up, hearts, whatever you do, especially on Spotify, where we've got 1,990 something followers. And my idea is, if we get 2021, it's not too many, it's another 30, I'm going to give away 2,000 of my books. That's right, 2,000 books. Now, enough of that. Let's get cracking with the book. Once upon a time. One day, my mama caught me painting pictures on the floor, and the ceiling, and the walls, and the curtains, and the door, and I heard my mama holler like I never did before. "You ain't gonna paint no more." I ain't gonna paint no more. No more. I ain't gonna paint no more. That's what I say, but there ain't no way that I ain't gonna paint no more. So I take some red, and I paint my head. Now I ain't gonna paint no more. Oh, what the heck. Gonna paint my neck. Now I ain't gonna paint no more. Still, I just can't rest till I paint my chest. Now I ain't gonna paint no more. Guess there ain't no harm if I paint my arm. Now I ain't gonna paint no more. I ain't gonna paint no more. No more. I ain't gonna paint no more. But I just can't stand not to paint my hand. Now I ain't gonna paint no more. Then I see some black, so I paint my back. Now I ain't gonna paint no more. Like an Easter egg, gonna paint my leg. Now I ain't gonna paint no more. Still, I ain't complete till I paint my feet. Now I ain't gonna paint no more. I ain't gonna paint no more. No more. I ain't gonna paint no more. But I'm such a nut. Gonna paint my... What? Y'all don't faint, 'cause there ain't no paint. So I ain't gonna paint no more. The end. Wow, that's such a colourful book. And for you mummies and daddies out there who have got kids, I'm sure you've experienced being painted on, or going in the room and seeing your little one with paint on their face or their head or their legs or their arms or their back or their neck or all over the place. And that book was called I Ain't Gonna Paint No More by Karen Beaumont and very colourfully illustrated by David Catrow, here on the Lights Out podcast. Bedtime stories for boys and girls, for when the lights go out. Good night.